Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 115 of Psycho's Platters. I hope everybody is doing themselves a really great week of crate digging and life in general. I think I'm going to title this episode Elvis and the Malvern Nine, and I know you're going to be like, what? But just bear with me on this. Wish it was sponsored by Waffle House, maybe someday. Um, Once again, stuck in the room here. We're moving some things around and hope at the in the living room, hopefully being able to get rid of some other furniture over the week. That would be nice, and then I could start shooting things there. But we shall see. An update on my dad, really quick. If I have not brought this up since the last episode because I can't remember. Yes, he does have cancer. We found that out last week, and they're going to um, make some more tests and remove the um, off of his lung. They're going to remove the bit there, um, but it wasn't in the lymph nodes, and it is operable. So that much I can tell you. Other than that, this is all up in the air stuff at this point. So I just want to let you know, continue please to keep him in your prayers, BC. That would be greatly appreciated on my end. So Elvis and the Malvern Nine. That sounds like either a really bad band or something you'd read in a newspaper headline. This is from two different sources. The first part here is I found less than 2 weeks ago, I found a bunch of Elvis 45s. Again, 10 cents a piece on these. I couldn't pass these up. We'll start off from 1956, Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel. I know these things are these. It doesn't help that the RCA Victor label, as you know, is black, and so you get the ring wear on these suckers, and it just makes it look more awful than it is. The condition on these would be a lot better once they're cleaned, but so that one from '56, then from Jailhouse Rock in 1957, followed by later in the year in 1957, All Shook Up from Elvis. Then all the way up to 1963 we go with Witchcraft on RCA. And then I found two EPs. I love finding the EPs, but you rarely ever find the covers, right? That's because all the women and put them on their walls and things like that. You rarely ever find the EP covers by themselves. I've found maybe two over 35 years of collecting. This one here, the King Creole EP from 1958, and go figure, they still were making EPs in 1965. This one here is from the movie Tickle Me. So I mean, like I said, 10 cents a piece, not too bad on that bit. Now, what do I mean by the Malvern Nine? I was in Malvern, Arkansas. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, but too bad. I already did. A few this past weekend, I went there. All right, I literally found hundreds and hundreds of vinyl. I found mostly albums, but there was this bigger shoebox of 45s. The place wanted $1 a piece for the albums. I said, well, how much do you want for the 45s? And they said, once again, $1 a piece. It took my big pile down to this pile. But boy, what's in this pile? We'll start off with some of the least going to, at the end, a total kick-ass piece, as I discovered last night in my research. Okay, we start off with Jan Bradley on Chess, Mama Don't Lie. Now, Jan Bradley was an American soul singer. After high school, auditioned for Curtis Mayfield, who wrote We Girls on the Formal label. By 1963, this particular 45, Mama Don't Lie, was released on Chess. But after this particular 45 came out, Curtis Mayfield and Chess got into a legal dispute over publishing rights, and because of that, Mayfield had no longer any association with the chess label, and he couldn't also do any involvement with Jan Bradley, which kind of stinks. Um, Pretty much, by 1965, that was like the end of it for 45s coming out from her. By the early 1970s, she retired from music. Go figure, she's still around though, and she lives in, I'm led to believe, the south side suburbs of Chicago. So, still kind of cool to find a chess whenever you can. Now, next one here. I'm not sure which one is the hit on this, but from from 1964, The Reflections on Golden World. No, this is not just like Romeo and Juliet. The Reflections were a blue-eyed soul doo-wop group from Detroit. By 1965, they were gone. Two of the original members of the five are still performing, so I thought that was kind of cool in itself. Next one here. First time I've ever seen this label. Shorty Long doing Devil with a Blue Dress. Now, Shorty Long, he came from Alabama to Motown Records in '63 from the Tri-Fi Harvey label, which that was owned by Harvey Fuqua of the Moonglows, who would end up having Motown Association as well. This particular release was put out in 1964 by Soul. As you can see, Soul was a subsidiary label for Motown. True little Motown fact, though, is that Shorty Long and Smokey Robinson were the only two Motown artists in the 1960s to be able to produce their own material. Unfortunately for Shorty, he passed away in June of 1969 due to a drowning off of a boat. So I just thought that was interesting, nevertheless, on that. Now, one of the first things that popped out when I looked through these, the shoebox of 45s, was finding this 1958 Sun on from Johnny Cash called "Guess Things Happen That Way." Went to #1 on the country charts of that year. Really, really good record. I remember this when I was a teenager. I had a copy of this. Nice to have this back into the collection. For Johnny in 1958. One of the cooler pieces, though, honestly, I have never seen one of these. Flying Saucers Rock and Roll from Billy Riley. Now, this beauty from 1957 on Sun, in near mint condition, goes for $100. Between you and me, it ain't no near mint piece. I'd be lucky if it got a G plus VG minus. Point of the matter is, I've never seen this. Now I have it. It's beautiful. On this particular 45, Jerry Lee Lewis plays backup piano. Very, very nice to find that Sun. Usually when I find Suns, most of the time it's Johnny or Carl Perkins or an occasional Jerry Lee. It's really nice to find that one. Now, this I thought was pretty cool. I think a few episodes ago I showed you my first Hanna-Barbera 45, which was a Pebbles and Bam Bam thing. I found my second one. I found I Don't Believe and Hey You from the Guillotines. The Guillotines. Get it? It was horrible. Needless to say, what's the story on these guys? These guys were originally from Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis saw them in Memphis when he was out there, and he brought the trio, as a three-piece band, to L.A. to get a job playing in a hotspot called the Red Velvet Cloud. Who happens to walk in one day when they were performing but Phil Spector? He gets very interested. He starts working with the band, but quickly moves on to something else. That's just Phil Spector for you, right? But an overeager manager, meanwhile, without the band's knowledge, signed him to a contract for Hanna-Barbera Records. Because of that, they had to cut off what little involvement they had with Spector. This 45 was released in July of '65. They made two more singles, and then the leader, Louis Paul Jr., he left. They made a third single, and then after Hanna-Barbera died, which I think was in late '66, they signed with Columbia, and they actually went and toured as a support act for Paul Revere and the Raiders. So really nice to find that piece in there. This next one was a little bit kind of goofy. Never saw this before on the Faloo records. Faloo, Johnny Acey, Stay Away Love, and You Walked Out and Left Me. He started out in 1960 on the Fire label, actually. This particular 45 was from November of 63, but pretty much he was gone by the early 70s and died in 2009. All right. Excuse me. Two left, guys. My first Excello, I've never found one before. This one is from Lazy Lester, doing Lester Stop, and I'm going to Leave You, Baby. Another Tennessee label. This one here, though, he was born in the 30s in Louisiana and started in the 50s. His songs have been covered by the Kinks, Flaming Groovies, Fabulous Thunderbirds, and many, many others. He got his start with Lightnin' Slim. This one here from November 1956. Roughly, I tried to figure this out because it wasn't in the book. I'd say probably in the condition that it's in, this could maybe go for about $40, $50. Now, this is the final piece. I did really, really good. I was really surprised. Doug Fields, I told you about these 45s, but I really didn't get a chance to tell you about what some of the importance on these were till I looked them up last night. I looked up about 3 or 4 different sources, and I think the Billy Lee Riley was the coolest piece till I found this. Okay, on Duke, Buddy Ace, Screaming Please. This is a promo copy. Pardon me for reading here, but I'm going to anyway. Buddy Ace, raised in Texas, started in a gospel group with Joe Tex. He formed another brief group with Bobby Blue Bland and Junior Parker. He signed to Duke in 1955, died of a heart attack during a show in Waco, Texas in 94. This particular 45 is from 1961. Here's the fun part. Discogs has this roughly in the same condition that I have this in for almost $400. This is going over in England. This is a desirable piece, I'm led to believe. It's going for about between 600 and 700 pounds. I'm happy to have this. It just goes to show you, you never know when you're going to find something, what you're going to find. And once again, it's those labels that you're not entirely sure, even though I've heard of Duke and Excello and Son, of course. You take a chance. If it's worth the price, you take a chance. All right? What have we learned? You always ask and you take a chance. That's Psycho's second motto. Okay? Quick little shout outs here because I'm going past 13 minutes. Wax Museum with Ronnie Dark and Night Owl Lounge with Mike Adams, Sunday nights, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Standard and 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard for both of those shows. Like them on Facebook. Go listen to them on Sunday nights on Uber stations. That's probably going to be your best way to listen. Fantastic ear candy for the soul you cannot miss. Thrifty Music Collectors Group, Tim Smith and Company, always still cranking. They still got new members this week. So did Wax Museum, by the way. They had over a dozen new members. Good job. Like I told you guys, it keeps rolling. So go check out Tim Smith and Company for thrifty music. Also, Shindig Magazine, one of the best damn English rock magazines, period. I love that magazine so much. And the YouTube vinyl community, because without you, we wouldn't be here either. So, no new subscribers. Please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your frenemies to subscribe here to Psycho's Platters. And you know what? Put in the comment box, what is the coolest unknown 45 that you found that actually turned out to be worth something? I'd be curious to see your answers. Till next episode, take care, God bless, and rock on.